Change is never easy. It takes a lot to get used to something new. Adrian Autry is still working through the kinks as the head coach of Syracuse basketball, but for the most part, he's making change as easy as it can be. Now his squad heads to Hawaii in what is anything but a vacation. A top 10 opponent awaits on the beaches of Oahu in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Whether they're ready for it or not, the bright lights are set to shine on Autry and his squad. Mahatma Gandhi famously said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Change in the Syracuse basketball world is rare, but we all just might finally be ready to accept it and move forward. The times are changing on Cuse Countdown. A new era of Syracuse basketball is here.
Welcome to Cuse Countdown. Ethan, Frank, Skyler, Wilkes, Avin in the CitrusTV studios getting you set for Syracuse and number 7 Tennessee in the Maui Invitational coming up next week. Guys, you ready to talk some basketball?
I'm ready.
It's about time.
It's about time. The Orange beat Colgate on Tuesday night, 79-75. We got to talk about that game before we get to Tennessee. An incredible comeback by the Orange.
Yeah, it was amazing. The Orange really looked strong in that second half especially. It was rough to start, but they really got it going, and I know it was the defense, Skyler, that really helped them out, but the issue for me was that they weren't hitting their shots for a long part of the game. Just 9 triples for the whole team. Chris Bell had 6 of them, and when you're shooting 28% from 3, it's not really going to keep you in the game if you go down by 20.
24-point comeback is impressive regardless of how you look at it, especially against the Colgate team, CNY rivals that has won the last 2 matchups, so it's a big momentum win for Adrian Autry and company.
Syracuse down by 24 at one point in this game. A really impressive performance from Syracuse in the second half, using different types of defenses and really flustering the Raiders, a team that had beat Syracuse 2 years in a row. Let's talk about Judah Mintz a little bit, guys. This is someone who, as a sophomore, is really becoming a leader before our eyes, and that's not easy when you're only in your second year of playing college basketball. Skyler, how is he able to do it?
It starts with confidence, and he knows he's the best player on the court, and he shows it. But with that comes a sense of leadership. Besides Benny Williams, he's one of the longer tenured guys on this team. And you look at last game against Colgate, 23 points, but he also had 8 assists, which stands out to me. He's not afraid to pass the ball around and pick up his teammates when they're down. He's just an all-around great team player and leader.
He's taking complete control of the offense, really the whole team. His energy is infectious. You see it on the sidelines. They're rooting for him, and he's rooting for his teammates. But you see it right there on the screen, 30% from 3. That's the same exact percentage that he shot last year. But honestly, Skyler, the thing that I've been looking at with Judah is that every other statistical category has gone up for him this year. So you see rebounds, assists, steals, and he's turning the ball over less. So not only is he playing great on the court, but he is an amazing teammate off the court, and his energy is running all through the Syracuse team this year.
Someone else who stole the show against Colgate was Chris Bell, who put up a career-high 25 points in this game, was 6 of 14 beyond the arc, was the second option on offense for a lot of the night. Adam, can he sustain that level of output, and where do you see him fitting in on this roster?
I'd love to hope that he can continue to do this. I think the biggest issue with him last year was that we weren't sure if he could shoot the ball this well consistently. But last night, he was on fire, to put it frankly. I mean, you might see 6 of 14 from the field from 3 and think, well, that's not too good. But I mean, a lot of those makes came in the bottom half of the second half, where he led that Syracuse comeback. And I know it was rough to start, but when he really got things going, he looked on and he really helped Syracuse propel to that victory. If he can continue to shoot like that and maybe spread that magic to the rest of his teammates, Syracuse might have a shot against Tennessee.
You said it, Adam. Consistency is key for Chris Bell, and something you didn't see last year out of him, and I don't know if we'll see it again this year. 25 points, that's tough to replicate, especially 6 made 3-pointers, but you'd like to get at least half of that, 3 3-pointers a game, maybe in the 15 range, because when Mintz and Starling drive, a guy like Bell on the wing is super helpful.
Yeah. Syracuse's offense is getting a lot of attention, but the defense deserves a lot of credit for that comeback as well. The man-to-man hasn't been working so well through 3 games, moving away from Jim Boeheim's patented 2-3 zone. They put on the press, and it worked well against the Raiders. So to figure out exactly what's going on with Syracuse's defense, let's send it over to the guys at the wall.
Ethan, Ethan, Jim Boeheim is no longer at the helm of Syracuse men's basketball. And Adam, you know what that means?
I think that probably means we're going to be seeing something different this time around.
How about no 2-3 zone? Could you imagine?
For the first time in 40-plus years, that seems absolutely insane.
I mean, that's one way to put it. And Syracuse seems to have been falling in line the last 40 years. The defense seems a little sluggish early on, going to man under Adrian Autry, and they just seem a bit confused. You look here on this inbound pass, and no one is guarding anybody. Ryan Moffett, who shot over 45% from three last year, wide open on the arc, Adam.
Yeah, Naheem McLeod is nowhere to be found, gives the wide open three. That's not something you want to see right at the start of the game.
And even here, early on, pick and roll offense and just wide open to the lane. That can't happen in the early part of the game or the late part of the game.
Yeah, the defense wasn't switching. You didn't really know if they were playing man or zone. Everyone kind of seemed confused out there. And then right here, wide open lane with the finish right to start in the first half. And that was really what gave Colgate their big lead to begin with.
And it's one of the main reasons why Syracuse is dead last in the ACC in rebounding defense and third worst in scoring offense.
Yeah, but we saw a little bit of more intensity in the second half. Syracuse was double teaming. They were triple teaming. They were really getting after the ball, something that you want to see from this Coach Autry-led team. And you see it right here. They really get after it. And Skyler, I really liked how they were forcing all those turnovers.
Yeah, 20 points off of turnovers in the entire game, and much of that came in the second half and right to the 24-point comeback because Colgate, Patriot League team, not used to that type of intensity, and you can see Syracuse clearly took advantage. Yeah,
you see it right there. Judah Mintz intercepts the pass, takes it in for the big finish. He was the one who really sparked that comeback, but that spread throughout the whole roster. I mean, Malik Brown here with the steal and the slam, which really solidified Syracuse's comeback. That's something you want to see from this young team.
And on an inbound pass, too, from the front court. I mean, that's not easy to do. The long arms of Malik Brown, which he's shown from this year to last, he just brings a whole different energy and intensity to the Syracuse defense.
Yeah, Ethan, if Syracuse can play like how they played in the bottom 5 minutes of that second half against Tennessee, hopefully it's going to be a more competitive game.
It had double-digit turnovers in the second half, and the head of the snake comes from Adrian Autry, who's implementing a lot of new things with this defense. What have you guys made of Autry in his first season as head coach so far in terms of his in-game coaching abilities, how he's handled the media, just everything involved with being a head coach?
You know, I think after 47 years, and we're finally seeing some new change with this program, what's really impressed me is the energy that he's bringing to the media, to the fans, to the people on the sideline, and obviously his own team. I mean, you see it, the passion. He was standing almost the whole second half. Judah Mintz had a great quote after the game. He said, "Coach never stopped believing, why should we?" And it really sounds like he's gotten the whole team to buy into him and to his process of how he likes to do things. And I like what I'm seeing from Red so far.
It's tough to fill the shoes of a legendary coach like Jim Boeheim, but Adrian Autry just seems like more of a player's coach. Jim Boeheim in the news in recent years for calling out players like Benny Williams, like Jesse Edwards. Adrian Autry seems to relate more. Maybe it's an age thing, who knows, but he seems to relate more to his players, which goes a long way on the court. Benny Williams, we haven't seen it yet, but could perform a whole lot better under Autry.
So Autry's in charge of maintaining a lot of these guys, kind of developing them as the season goes along. Specifically on the defensive end, there have been some ups and downs, and you guys broke it all down a lot, but here's what Autry had to say after the Colgate game when it came to his team's defense.
I thought we put a consistent half of defense together. You know, I think, you know, they understand what it takes to focus now and then to finish plays. You know, like I said, the earlier games, we played 6 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Tonight, I think they learned about, you know, growing up a little bit about what it takes to put 20 minutes of defense together. Now we got to turn that into another, 20 minutes.
We'll see if Syracuse can put 40 minutes of defense together against Tennessee. We'll be breaking down the Volunteers on the other side here on Cuse Countdown.
Here's to the straggly ones, the lopsided ones, the first ones, the I miss my beard ones. But hey, I look good with this ones. But no way he's grown that in a week ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. That one. The itchy ones. The never forgotten ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The started late ones. The absolutely filthy ones. The drawn on ones. The finger ones. The pin ones. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones. And the yeah, why not ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow, will save a bro. Learn more at Movember.com.
Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. Ethan Frank with Adam, Avin, and Skyler Wilkes. Let's focus a little bit on Tennessee, a really high caliber team. And for Syracuse, think about who it played around Thanksgiving last year. Played at the Barclays Center against Richmond and St. John's. Two iffy opponents this year. A huge step up in competition. Adam, is that a good thing or a bad thing for Adrian Autry?
I love it so much. You're really going to see if Syracuse can stay in these games against some big SEC top opponents. I think it's going to be great to see if the Orange can stay in this type of game. Obviously, they were down against Colgate, and they came back and they got the victory. If they go down 20 to Tennessee, I'm not so sure that they'll be able to come back, but I would like to see them give it a shot and make some shots so that they can stay in that game.
It's great if you win the game, but Syracuse, I don't see that happening, so I gotta go with it's not good. This is a team that hasn't beaten a top 10 opponent since 2016, when they happened to beat 3 in the same year, believe it or not. And it just, you mentioned it, Adam, against those top 10 tier opponents, 24-point comebacks are not easy to do, and you can't out-rebound, you can't out-shoot. It makes it a lot tougher.
And I wouldn't really have liked them to be playing Tennessee, Gonzaga, Purdue all right at the start if they had to. Maybe just one of those three so that we could see them against a top opponent and get the ball rolling. But honestly, I'm excited to see what they're going to do in Maui.
Well, they're going to get at least two of those teams, Adam. And when you look at Tennessee through this season so far, have not dropped any games, been scoring over 80 points consistently a night. It's going to be a really, really tough challenge, Skyler.
Oh, it absolutely is. And it starts with a depth of scoring and a size mismatch like we talked about, but Tennessee just does it all better. You know, you can recruit better, you face higher competition. There's just a huge mismatch for Syracuse overall.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee so far this year, they haven't had any really great wins. They beat Wisconsin, that was pretty good, and they actually beat Michigan State in an exhibition during the preseason.
That's not looking too good right now.
It's not looking too good, but they were ranked fourth in the nation. This Tennessee team has played well, especially defensively over the past few years. I mean, if you take a look over the last few years, currently, I know we're only a few games in, but they're ranked third in the country in defense. Last year, they were first, and then the year before that, they were third again. And so this team knows how to play defense, and that's going to be really tough. This might be the toughest defensive matchup that the Orange have seen in the past couple of seasons.
And the conductor of the volunteer train is none other than Rick Barnes, a name Syracuse fans will remember well. He was the head coach at Texas when the Orange faced the Longhorns in the Final Four back in 2003. He's a notable head coach, recruited the likes of Kevin Durant to Texas, wasn't able to get the better of the Orange back in 2003. Hakeem Warwick had some other things to do about that, and Carmelo Anthony, a tremendous 30-point performance against Rick Barnes, who is still searching for his first national title. But this is a renowned coach, a really good recruiter who just hasn't been able to get over the hump, whether it was at Texas or whether it's been at Tennessee.
You know, I think he kind of has the same reputation as like Matt Painter from Purdue, where like he's a really good coach, a really great regular season coach, but when it comes time to compete for a national championship, they end up falling short in the tournament. And that might not be all on him. Like you said, Ethan, he's a really good recruiter. And I mean, we saw it in the transfer portal where now a couple of their top scorers who we're going to talk about were transfers this offseason that he brought in. And so Rick Barnes is a really good head coach, but something is going wrong for this Tennessee team, and even though they are really good, they have to get it together to compete for a title.
In college athletics, Adam, it's all about recruiting, and Rick Barnes, we talked about it, does it well. 3 top 10 recruiting classes in the last 3 years, 5 straight tournament appearances, got to the Sweet 16 last year. He's proven winner, and he's a proven legendary coach. I mean, not many guys can say they coached Kevin Durant in college and recruited him there as well. So it should be interesting to see how a rookie coach in Adrian Autry fares against a well-seasoned veteran like Rick Barnes.
You mentioned recruiting players to play at your school. Dalton Connect, not on the same level as Kevin Durant, but he's been really effective in how he's played through Tennessee's first few games. What makes him so effective as a scorer, and why is he so difficult to defend?
Well, it's a similar talent skill level to Kevin Durant. Obviously not at the same level, but assets from a standpoint of, he's 6'6", probably plays a bit bigger, and his shooting ability. he's averaging over almost 20 points a game on over 50% shooting. That's not easy to do. And when you come over, especially from a school like Northern Colorado, where he was a Big Sky All second team player, to go into the SEC Player of the Week, he just gives this team a huge scoring boost. And when you're at it with another transfer from USC Upstate and Jordan Gainey, the two top scorers like you mentioned, Adam, it's a really tough task for an opposing defense.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. I mean, he's a great player. He's shooting the ball really well, but he's actually only shooting 28% from threes, so he hasn't been great from behind the arc, but he has been their leading scorer this year. He's obviously their best player. Just seeing him cut and spread the floor out, this offense looks completely different like it did last year. Last year they were in the middle 20s of offense in the nation, and this year they're actually playing better with Dalton Connect at the helm. He does play a little bit more physical like you mentioned, and that's something that this Tennessee team needs if they want to really get the ball rolling on offense.
Guys, from someone new to Tennessee to one of the Vols' most popular returners, Zakai Ziegler is back on the court for Rick Barnes' squad after tearing his ACL in February and is a huge part of Tennessee's aspirations this season for a number of reasons.
Despite being only 5'9", Ziegler is known for his tenacious defense and relentless playmaking that had him leading the SEC in assists at the time of his injury and got him a place on the all-conference defensive team at season's end. Ziegler does a lot for the Volunteers. Barnes acknowledged just how much he means to the group after their season-opening win over Tennessee Tech last week.
Well, I mean, I think what it was after the game, we walked in just right, I said, Coach, we got to give Zakai the game ball because he said he's the heart and soul of the team, and he is. And it was hard on him. He wants to play so much, and he's been wanting to play for the longest time, as you can imagine. But tonight he was. He knew he was going to be limited to minutes.
The Long Island native has come off the bench in each of Tennessee's first 3 games of the year as he works his way back from the injury, but he'll be a handful for Syracuse to deal with on Monday in whatever role Barnes has for him.
Ziegler will be a handful indeed against Syracuse. The Orange will try to corral him, and our guys have their starting 5s for the Orange based on this Syracuse roster. All that when we come back.
Welcome to my house. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The walls were closing in. Clearly a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It could help you find a little more breathing.
Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. Chris Bell, certainly a name that's about to come up. We're picking our Syracuse basketball starting 5s based on the roster available. Ethan Frank, Adam Avin, Skyler Wilkes. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Adam. By a random lottery, you've been awarded the first overall pick. So with the first pick in this draft, who are you taking?
Is it a question? It's obviously Judah Mintz. I mean, Judah Mintz, the leader of this Syracuse team so far this year, Skyler. I mean, after Joe Girard and Jesse Edwards left and went to their other schools, Judah has really taken the leadership role on and off the court, and he's really just doing all for the Orange. I mean, you see it right there, defense turning to offense, and he's the leading scorer on this team. You couldn't ask for anything more with my 101.
You know, it's tough when you lose Judah Mintz, but I'm going with his front court mate in J.J. Starling, transfer 5-star recruit from Notre Dame, and he's picked up right where he left off, actually better than he was for the Fighting Irish. His shot leaves a little to be desired for, but his playmaking ability, he's become a better passer under Adrian Autry, and he really complements Mintz well.
So some pretty easy picks there. I would say if I was doing this draft, those would have been the top two guys on my board. But now is where it starts to get interesting. You got a plethora of wings, a couple of bigs to choose from. So Adam, back to you. Who's your second pick?
My second pick, Justin Taylor. And I know that might be surprising with the amazing performance that Chris Bell just had. But JT has looked really good so far this year. Every aspect of his game is improved, especially his defense. We saw it. He had a great steal that secured, or helped the comeback, I should say, against Colgate right off an inbound, and then handed the ball off, and Syracuse ultimately ended up winning the game. So Justin Taylor on the boards, on defense, and obviously his three-point shot is as good as it gets. So Justin Taylor, I'm taking him at the 2 with my second pick.
You saying that makes you lick my lips because I'm going with Chris Bell, who we talked about it, Adam. You said it on against Colgate, was scoring in bunches, 25 points, and shoots the three ball really well, 6 of them to be exact. And he's a great 3-and-D player, and he's starting to get that confidence that he didn't show all the time last year. His second year back, getting his feet wet. He's really ready for a breakout year for Syracuse.
3-and-D, that's interesting. I think there have been a little bit of Chris Bell struggles. He still did not corral a single rebound against Colgate, and that is a somewhat lots of desired. I think I'm more of a Justin Taylor guy myself, so I'm leaning towards Adam on that one, and I like what he's building with this group. Still a lot of good guys on the board. Mr. Avin, where are you going back with your third pick?
So I don't know if this is a surprising one or not, but I'm going small ball, and I'm taking Malik Brown and putting him at the 5. We saw it in the second half when Syracuse started going to the full court press. He was the anchor of that defense, forcing turnovers, taking the ball and slamming it down on the other end. Malik Brown is he's really athletic, and Syracuse did a great job of keeping him on the floor in those moments where they really needed him. He was getting boards, he was playing aggressive, and he's the guy that I want playing defense in my starting 5.
You're talking about small ball. I'm going really tall ball in Naheem McLeod at the 5, 7'4", doesn't get much taller than that. And scoring is not his game. He is a rebounder and a shot blocker. He is 8 in the last 2 games and is 2nd in the conference overall. I need someone blocking those Dalton Connect shots down low.
So I must say, I am quite stunned right now because I don't know if you guys knew this, but I am the principal owner of all of the real estate on Quadir Copeland Island. Like that is my absolute guy, and the fact that he was not taken in the first 3 rounds is absolutely ridiculous. Skyler, I'm really concerned how you decided to go with Naheem McLeod after a game in which he pretty much could not play in the second half, instead of a guy in Quadir Copeland who was out there leading the press and leading the Syracuse comeback. I gotta feel like Copeland's gonna go here in round 4.
I'm going to make you so happy, my friend. I'm taking Quadir Copeland. I mean, he's leading the team in rebounding. And so that when Naheem McLeod, he's 7'4", and Quadir Copeland, you have him jumping over him for those boards. I mean, the athleticism just jumps off the screen and off of the court. Quadir Copeland has definitely improved. And I feel like every time we're talking about this Syracuse squad and some of the players who were looking to break out, people are calling for this guy to stay on the floor because of his athleticism, because of his defense and what he brings, and with the intensity on and off the court. You see him on the sidelines too, just his energy. He's so passionate and loves this Orange team and his teammates. I'm taking Quadir Copeland at the 4.
Well, I'm bringing another energy guy. And, J.J. Starling works well with Judah Mintz. I'm going with another guard to bring up the ball with him, and that's Kyle Cuff, the Kansas transfer who hasn't gotten a fair shot in the last 2 games. But you look, 11 points against Damon in 23 minutes, 8 against New Hampshire. This guy can score the basketball, and he's gritty. He's New York tough from Harlem, and he brings a different energy, a second-generation college basketball player behind his dad, who played at St. John's. I like with Starling driving to the basket, Bell and Cuff on the wing.
So you're going, it seems like you're going extra big here, Skyler, and Adam's got a lot of players of similar mold. It's an interesting team building strategy we have going on here. Obviously, I'm a fan of Quadir Copeland, but I like Kyle Cuff as well. I think he brings a good shooting element to what you've got going on over there. Mr. Wilkes, all right, so we're getting to the edges of this roster here. Where are you guys going with to round out your starting 5?
All right, I was looking at all the players that we had left, and I wasn't sure if there was anyone else I could take when I'm piecing together this really strong defensive lineup other than Benny Williams. Benny, obviously, we've seen his struggles on both ends of the floor, and he's just coming back off of a suspension and just getting back into play. And the shooting struggles showed in his first game back against Colgate, but this is a guy who shot 40% from 3 last year, and if he really gets going, I know he can help with defense. If I was picking a starting 5 of who I want on the floor at the end of a game to help secure a victory, it's the starting 5 I just picked. Judah Mintz, Justin Taylor, Benny Williams, Quadir Copeland, and Malik Brown.
You say shooting, that was not a great sample size. Benny Williams is not a 40% shooter from three. I don't know where that's coming from. I'm still going big because you look at the ACC, Armando Bacot, big men like that. I'm going guy you haven't seen yet this season in Munir Hima. He averaged a block per game last year. I mean, him and McLeod down low, that's pretty special. And you want to know what Hima and LeBron James have in common?
Nothing.
They both played for Keith Dambrot. Hima at Duquesne and James in high school. There's something to say there. Hima brings a veteran presence to his floor. You know, Peter Carey is the other backup center right now. He's played 6 minutes in his collegiate career. I like Munir Hima a lot better. And I like my lineup of Starling and Bell and McLeod and Cuff and Hima.
At least my guys can run up and down the floor.
You know,
Maybe Hima
Skyler,
slow walking.
you know this is 2023 and you need shooting when you play basketball. You got 3 non-shooters out there on the court. I do appreciate that, LeBron.
3?
Yeah, J.J. Starling, Naheem McLeod.
Well, he's a playmaker. He has to
Yeah,
shoot.
That's a
He
lot of
doesn't have much.
that's a lot of non-shooters
all
out
the
there
shooting
on
in
the
the
court.
world
I'm
right
a
now, I
little
think.
bit worried about the spacing, but I do like the size, and I think it could be really hard for a Judimint or a Justin Taylor to score down low. All right, we still got a lot more to come here on Cuse Countdown. We're headed to a luau. I mean, how fun is that? We'll hope you join us a whole lot more on CC right after this. Aloha. Welcome back to a Hawaiian version of Cuse Countdown. Wrapping things up here on CC. Ethan Frank, Adam Avin, Skyler Wilkes. This is the 4th time Syracuse has played in the Maui Invitational. I got some numbers for you. You guys are ready. So 3rd time. First time was in 1990. You know who played on that team?
Adrian Autry?
Adrian Autry was on the 1990 team, the first Syracuse team to win the Maui Invitational. Also won in 1998 and 2013. I got some trivia questions for you guys. Ready? Can you name any of the teams that Syracuse beat in any 3 of those championship games?
Absolutely. I can say Baylor was in 2013.
That's correct.
With guys like Torian Prince on the roster, and they beat Indiana in the previous 2.
Wow, look at that, Skyler. I'll give you extra bonus points if you could tell me who the MVPs were for Syracuse in each of those tournaments.
I know it was Jason Hart in 98, I want
That's
to say.
correct. That is correct.
And CJ Fair, was he the one
CJ
in
Fair was the
2013?
MVP
I don't
in
remember
2013.
I wasn't there in 1990 to catch that, but 2 for 3 is
One of the
that.
better players in Syracuse history has
that
his
was an
jersey
epic
retired in
collapse.
the rafters. Billy Owens was the MVP
Right. Well,
in
the Owens
1990.
legacy lives on in Hawaii this year.
Do you guys have any memories from the last time Syracuse played in the Maui Invitational back in 2013?
Honestly, not really. To be honest with you, I was in 3rd grade. I don't really remember that, but I've loved going back and watching the highlights, especially this week and looking back at the Syracuse history.
The biggest memory for me, I don't know if you remember this, Skyler, is when CJ Fair went and dunked on a Minnesota player and came out bloody all over his cheek. I don't know how much you remember that.
I don't remember that, but Minnesota, that was the team that won the NIT that year, and Syracuse beat them in the 1st round. So a little bit tougher of a competition this time with Tennessee, but maybe the same success.
All right, moving on to 2023, 10 years later after Syracuse's most recent victory in the tournament. Can the Orange get it done?
Look, I'm not completely confident that the Orange will be able to win the whole thing, but I do think that they'll be able to compete. Obviously, they're going to play a really tough opponent, and if they get past Tennessee, they might get one of the hardest matchups ever, Gonzaga or Purdue, right to start the season. I'm not so sure they'll be able to get it done, but I'm excited to see what they can do.
They may get a win, but it may come in the 3rd round against Chaminade, the Division II program. Tennessee is just too talented with Dalton Connect and Jordan Gainey. I just like that duo more than the duo of J.J. Starling and Judah Mintz, especially with the rebounding down low with guys like Josiah Jordan-James and Rick Barnes out coaching Adrian Autry.
I'm right there with you, Skyler. I think the experience of Tennessee has them winning by 17, 84-67 in favor of the Volunteers. This is just a Syracuse team that is learning on the fly too much right now. That game tips off at 2:30 Eastern time. You can follow all of our coverage of that on @CitrusTV Sports on social media and check out our website, citrustv.net. Enjoy the game.